Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Growth Capital Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Dixon, and today I've got Noah Frydberg on the podcast. He is the 19-year-old founder and CEO of Maverick Creative. They are a creative agency based here in Austin, Texas. He is a current student at the University of Texas here at Austin, and also has built a successful marketing agency called Maverick Creative with 8 employees that are all over the world. So needless to say, he does not sleep very often, just given that he is a full-time student and also running a business. But we talk a lot about his journey kind of being an entrepreneur very early in his life, and then starting his own business after some trials and tribulations with some different kind of get-rich-quick schemes. And we also talk a little about kind of his kind of difference of opinion when it comes to working fully remote or working in an office. Being 19, you would maybe think he would be very a proponent of fully remote, but he's really focused on kind of building a culture and building a team for his own business. So very interesting episode. Makes me feel really old talking to somebody that's 19 that's starting a business, but really cool episode. I think you'll get a lot out of it. So let's get Noah on the pod. Interested in hearing conversations with private equity leaders, CEOs of private equity-backed companies, and startup entrepreneurs where they share their stories about their career journeys, starting, investing in, and scaling successful businesses, and the important role that having the right talent plays in building a successful business, then you are in the right place. Welcome back to another episode of the Growth Capital Podcast. Here's your host, Justin Dixon. All right, Noah, man, thank you for being on the podcast. Nice to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, let's kind of jump right in here. Give us a little bit of an overview of who you are, where you are, and what you're up to right now.
So I live in Austin, Texas. I'm 19 years old. I am a student at UT Austin, and I also have founded and grown my own marketing agency called Maverick Creative over the last 3 years. Started in 2022 when I was back in high school, and started with just running my own brands on social media. They started to go viral, and I started to realize my greatest talent wasn't necessarily for building the brands or developing products or figuring all that stuff out logistically, but actually in the marketing. And so now we focus solely on marketing and being that just marketing partner to help brands grow. And so we're TikTok Shop official partners, we're Social Snowball official partners, and we help brands scale their sales just with viral content and running paid ads.
Interesting. So obviously, kudos to you for starting a business and having it be successful before your 20th birthday. So that's very awesome. So when you started it, I guess you kind of started kind of building your own brand, right? And was it kind of your brand as you, or were you kind of building your own kind of brand as under a pseudonym or under another kind of umbrella? Just I'm kind of curious kind of how it all got started.
Yeah, so I started with really these like I would say immature childish hopes of getting rich quick. And so like many of my friends, I was testing drop shipping and just looking into the whole world of online sales. I also did flipping and reselling and eBay and Facebook Marketplace and all those different things. I started to really get into drop shipping because I felt like it was very high potential, and I was testing different products, shower heads and body shavers and all kinds of weird things. And the products were weird. It wasn't doing well, but the videos did start to go viral, thankfully. And that's when I realized, okay, that might be more of a skill set. That is clearly something people want. People are asking me how to do it. I'm putting them for free. And maybe that's something that I can charge for, because that seems like it's a lot more in demand than these shower heads with rocks in them, So that was where I started to kind of shift my focus to.
So, we all have brands now. Everybody that is on social media in some form or fashion has their own kind of specific brand, and some are trying to grow them, and some are just like me that just kind of have a brand because we've got businesses and all that fun stuff. But like when you talk about like building a viral or having a video go viral, like viral can mean a lot of things. I guess, when you think about it and when people come to you and ask you like, how do I create a viral video? Because like that's obviously the golden goose, right? If you can do that, then you can kind of write your own meal ticket essentially. So how does it work? What was your first viral video? Like talk through that.
Yeah. So at the time that I started Maverick in 2022, I was getting really granular into the details of what does it mean to go viral. I think a very common definition, I heard Casey Neistat say this, is that Viral just means it's beyond your typical reach. So if you
Mm.
have, let's say, 1,000 followers and your video gets 2,000 views, it's viral. I don't love that definition though. I think the problem with it is it doesn't necessarily account for scale, and a viral video that has 1 million views is obviously a lot different than a video with 2,000. The main reason is because a lot more people see it, right? It actually it has a lot more of an impact. So when I talk about viral, I would say over 1 million views. The science of that, I would say, just to simplify as much as possible, is being controversial can do that because it'll cause people to share or comment. Being really
Mm.
valuable, being helpful in some way to people, that'll make them share, comment, watch again. Um, those are really common ones. Another would be just making a really high quality video, like let's say it's movie quality or really pleasing to watch. There's other ways as well. That's the science of it, I would say. A couple of good examples of what easiest ways to go viral. When I first started getting this down to a science and thinking about it that way, like, okay, if this is controversial, it'll do well. Then I started to realize, well, you can layer those different things, add multiple in one video, and it'll be more likely to do even better. So, for example, at the time I was just running into the bathroom with a deodorant or a chocolate bar or these different products that people were sending me to make TikToks with. And so I was running to do this at school, and I realized, hang on, like I'm doing this in the bathroom technically because I'm supposed to be in class right now, not filming TikToks. But being in the bathroom, it makes it more funny. Like it's even sillier, and people are going to say, why is this guy making an advertisement in the bathroom? And so that started to work, and so it started to go more viral because of my unique situation. And then I realized, layer these different aspects of virality together. And so that was an early thing. We had an account that I made with my friends called the Bathroom Boys, and it was based on that idea. I realized anything you do in the bathroom is automatically funny, and so at least to people on TikTok who may be
Right.
quite immature, but at least there people thought it was very funny. And so we had this account make like 6 million views in a week off a couple of videos.
Wow.
Um, Two of those videos out of that maybe 5 or 10 that we posted that week got like 4 to 5 million views in that month. We basically went from 0 to 10,000 followers in a new account in like a month, and just me and my friends in the bathroom doing weird things. So we put up a volleyball net. We were playing volleyball. We would like do dances, like the most silly things, but that was the basic idea essentially, that things will go viral if they do not make any sense.
Fair enough. How does it work? Like, so if you have I guess, who's coming to you, or who are your clients? Are you working with other kind of influencer type folks that are on TikTok or anything, or do you also work with, I'm not going to say this correctly, but like legit brands that are like, that we would know about, and they're like, hey, we need to make some viral videos, and we're willing to be a little silly in them. But obviously we've got, rules and regulations that maybe a person that is trying to build a social brand doesn't. Like, does that make sense? Like, who are your clients that you're really trying to work with?
Yeah. So our clients usually are not very silly. They have iron tight guidelines, and that's fine with
Mm.
us. So we aren't necessarily that outlandish any longer, but the basic idea remains. And so we essentially help large established brands to grow with TikTok and social media at this point. That's the main thing that I think they struggle with or lack, and that's where we're essentially able to come in and help. For example, there's a lot of brands that are doing really well, let's say in Walmart, on Shopify, Target, Amazon, just the more popular established kind of mediums to sell their products, both online and in retail. We come in with TikTok, where TikTok's relatively new. TikTok Shop is only a year and a half old. TikTok wants these companies to come on. There's a massive opportunity there, right? This is a place where brands are already crushing it, making millions of dollars in revenue. So this is a massive new opportunity. And TikTok has exclusive benefits for these brands that they are trying to get from these other platforms. For example, I believe the typical brand has a fee of about 15% on Amazon for every sale. On TikTok, that fee is between 6 to 8%, I believe.
Mm.
So fees are like cut in half. It's the cost per click, or the cost per milli is a fraction of what is on other platforms, because you can go viral organically and get sales from organic content. Meaning, let's say on another platform you're spending 20 to 50,000 to make 200,000. On this platform you might spend 5,000 or 10,000 with an agency, go viral without spending $1 on paid ads, and make 100,000 plus. So the amount of money that you need to put in as opposed to what you're getting out it's outsized. It's really incredible.
Got it. I may be behind the times, but is TikTok still viable given that it wasn't it kind of shut down in the US or partially, and now they're trying to sell the US assets? Like again, I haven't kept up with actually what's going on in TikTok, but maybe you can share because obviously you're very plugged into this space.
Yeah, it was shut down temporarily, I believe, in late January for about a day, and then it came back. TikTok is now working actively with the new Trump administration in order to bring TikTok back fully, since there was a bill signed banning it under Biden. It seems to me, based on what I can understand, based on what I can tell, and I may be wrong, but I believe that TikTok will not get banned. Um, Maybe you could say I'm biased. I've talked to many people at TikTok. No one that's working there currently believes it's going to be banned. I don't know of anybody that works at TikTok that's currently looking for a job elsewhere. I think that the opportunity is just wild on there in general. I just think the amount of Americans that have incomes tied to it at this point, it's just too many for it to really go down. I think that the economy really needs it, and yeah, I just overall I don't want it to be banned, of course, but I also don't believe it is. I don't think it's realistic. I think that they're working behind the scenes really intently right now with the new administration in order to keep it up.
And are they kind of working to sell or have TikTok sell the U.S. assets to a U.S. company? Because I know that was kind of part of the ban was that it was a kind of Chinese spyware or whatever the case is. But like, is that kind of what you're hearing from people in your ecosystem about that they're just going to sell the U.S. portion of the business to a U.S. company?
As far as I know, that could be possible. The only issue is the fact that the algorithm itself is really the I would say the asset here. So I would keep that in
Mm,
mind. So I would say were there to be a deal where the algorithm was not sold with the company, TikTok would be moot. It would not be relevant any longer.
yeah.
We the algorithm is really what makes it TikTok special as opposed to other platforms like Instagram or YouTube that essentially work in a very similar way with short form video. So as long as the algorithm can be sold as well, it'll be as the same. But I'm not totally sure exactly what's going on behind the scenes. No one's briefed me.
Yeah, no, we don't need to go down the TikTok path, but since it's kind of in your space, I figured I'd ask.
Of course.
I guess as you get brands, are they kind of are you pushing them into TikTok because of maybe the virality on TikTok is more possible than an Instagram or a Facebook or a YouTube? And also, I guess as a second part of that question, how does it work? And I guess are they more or less going after a younger generation that tends to be on TikTok versus maybe a Facebook, which tends to be a potentially older generation that's on it and using it on a more regular basis? Like, how does that work?
It's a good question. So, are we recommending TikTok over other platforms like Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook? And what's the opportunity or the
Yeah.
difference in opportunity between them? So, I would say that we're now finding every single age group on TikTok, including 55 plus.
Hmm.
People that were not on TikTok a few years ago are on it, and it's becoming extremely popular, right? It's the number one app, I believe, on the App Store, as far as I know, in terms of social media. So, the opportunity cost or the opportunity itself is great to be on TikTok. Now, what we find is as a social media marketing agency, we've used Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook as well as TikTok. And so these are all great places for brands to go viral, get a lot of views. The opportunity is on all those places in order to grow. However, the opportunity on TikTok in order to drive traffic and drive sales from that organic content is outsized. It's greater than Instagram or YouTube or anything else at this point. Others may disagree. This is simply based on what I've seen so far in my short career. And so I believe that TikTok is really just the best place to drive ROI. And our clients love to get good views and love to go viral. But the biggest priority in general for most brands is, of course, the bottom line and getting as many sales as possible. And so that's why we're recommending TikTok Shop so strongly right now. Also, they've made the best effort to connect with us, to work with us, to work with our partners, and our clients in order to drive their sales. And so I've been able to regularly meet with reps there and go to actually like South by Southwest and different events and parties with them as well in order to just deepen that relationship. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity also to work with them in order to grow every brand with it.
Interesting. I don't want to give you to give away proprietary secrets here, but like if I wanted to create a viral video for my recruiting business, obviously that would not go on TikTok Shop because I'm not an e-commerce or not selling anything necessarily other than a service. I guess one, do you work with companies outside of the kind of e-commerce space, or something that's selling a physical product? And two, like what do they have to invest to kind of quote unquote guarantee some type of viral video success?
hmm So when it comes to recruiting or other B2B services, I don't offer, my agency does not offer services for them. And I don't know that I would even recommend TikTok for you in that case. If you
Yeah.
had a different goal, TikTok might be good. But the thing is, it's very hard to, I would say, target viewers. So, for example, the kinds of products we work with are so mainstream that anyone could use it, right? Let's say it's like a supplement, any woman could use that supplement, for example, or it's a piece of clothing, any guy could wear it, right? We work with products that are extremely mainstream. That's what
Mm,
is best on TikTok. When it comes to recruiting offering, you're going to say, we help, B2B businesses at this size to hire this person. That's so targeted and specific that in my experience, that doesn't do as well on TikTok organically, but it could do well on ads. And I think it would do well if you already had a large following on TikTok that you kind of amassed in more of a mainstream, more general way, if that makes
got it.
sense.
Got it. Interesting. And then as you think about your business, right? So you're still in school. You're 19 years old, and kudos to you to kind of sticking at getting your degree, and also running a business. Like, how big is your business now, and what's kind of the next step for you as you kind of continue on your entrepreneurial and education journeys?
Mhm. Yeah. So right now, my business has about 18 members, employees, and we have around 20 clients that we're servicing at any given time. And so I would say our biggest goals right now are just to drive as much success for that client roster. Really just take them to the moon. I'd say just in terms of the amount of revenue that we're able to drive and views generated. And so really build out the marketing departments for each and every one of them just to get as great results possible. But from there, I would say we'd love to have a physical location. I'm thinking maybe Florida or Austin would be good for it. So we'd love to build a physical office, build it, put our whole team there, and then continue to grow in person as a team. I don't believe in this whole remote work thing that much, so I think that would
Well,
be a
that's
great.
interesting to get your perspective as a different generation than I am, even. So you're a proponent of fully in office, or are you more of a kind of a hybrid kind of structure where there's some work from home, some in office?
I think it needs to be pretty in office, and
Interesting.
and I don't think most people my age would agree with that. I think they would not like that. But I can tell you, Justin, when I came to college, as I was really coming into college in 2023, the books were being removed from the libraries and replaced with desks with essentially like power ports, like charging ports in every desk. So we have these beautiful massive libraries at UT, and they're filled with tables, and there's not really any books there. And so
Hmm.
what I'm noticing is the whole nature of work has changed drastically. And even from when I can remember as a kid, the way that people work on phones and computers is very different. And oftentimes in class, I don't mean to judge anybody. I'm not necessarily the best at paying attention myself. I'm definitely not. Anybody who knows me knows that. But I do see people in class that are shopping. Like you see people shopping um, during lectures. And so I think that it's the nature of people nowadays to be distracted. I think that our age of social media, everyone right says this, some version of this, like bemoans times have passed when we were less distracted, less addicted to our phones, all of that. But I think it's very hard if you're working in the digital space, online space, which everybody is now, even universities online. It's really hard to stay focused, and so I think that a physical office might help do that. Might also just build morale, a sense of being a team, and having that kind of ownership, which I think is valuable for companies.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to get your perspective. Obviously, being in school and seeing it live, kind of the distracted nature of the kids in school right now. And I grew up in a time when we didn't have cell phones in at all, and so it's an interesting dynamic because I find myself to be way more distracted than maybe I was earlier in my life. But to your point, every business is an online business, regardless of if you're selling landscaping services or recruiting or e-commerce or whatever. You have to be kind of available or online as much as possible, because you may lose on sales or whatever the case is. So I think it's interesting that you have a focus of it as you build your company to be more of an in-person shop. And I guess as you think about kind of, your a year or two into school, what's the kind of plan as to continue to build your business through school and then continue to run it after, or maybe talk about maybe, if we're recording this, a year or two from now, where do you think your firm is, and where are you going to go from there?
Yeah, I don't know if my college advisor is watching or not, but I'll say, God willing, our aim is that I should graduate a year early as of now, so
Okay.
that'd be in just over a year from today. And so if I can pull that off, then I'll be fully full time with the agency at that point. I think I'd like to say now I have two full time jobs as a student and as a CEO, which is fine. And so I keep myself quite busy doing those two things. But yeah, I mean, goal is to get to that point and to continue to expand our service offering. At this point, we were talking for a second about we work with the more established brands now. We have to turn away far more brands that would like to work with us, that have some capital to invest, and that we would be able to help simply because we don't have the bandwidth. And so
Mm.
we're at a point where we're growing so fast, we're not even able to help every single brand that comes to us if they're not at a certain level. However, those are brands that we could potentially help. So I would say with that extra time, we will be essentially growing and widening our service offering to include more information products, more free courses, and just more opportunities for brands to get involved and be able to get a stake in this.
And the teammates that you have, are they all full time? Are they all students with you, and they're kind of, working and going to school at the same time? Like, what's the makeup of your team?
No, so they're full time. None of them live in Austin. They live all over the United States and a few internationally as well. So they're the ones tackling client delivery
Mm.
essentially on a daily basis. We also have another closer who deals with inbound sales and then managing the team, and we even have a couple creators that are essentially full time at this point too, making content for clients on our roster.
That's awesome. How do you balance the time? I mean, as an entrepreneur, and if you just have a normal kind of life after entrepreneur, it's a hard life to balance. But obviously now to your point, you're in school full time. You're trying to graduate early. How do you balance the managing of the business and the people while being in school?
hmm So I found that just obviously just trying to be organized. I love Google Calendar for that reason. I put everything in Google Calendar. I put hanging out with my friends in Google Calendar. Like I put everything in it just to make sure no one else can take that time, right?
Right.
So that structure and planning the week, I plan the week on Sundays. That's been very helpful. But also just doing as many meetings as I can virtually is great. And so I can go to class, walk back, get on a meeting, and then just keep the day going. And so I try to also work with people on their time zone, if that makes sense. So when it comes to a contractor in Pakistan or a client in the UK, I'll reach out to them maybe in the early morning, knowing that they'll be able to get that message. And that's a better time for me to talk to them. And then let's say later in the day, I'm talking to my American team, right? And getting things done with them. So I'd say just having those kinds of things ready, not necessarily sticking to the 9 to 5. I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, they're very serious about not taking their work home and being really balanced. And I think that the struggle with balance is that at a certain point, you're balancing to the point that you're not able to add more weight on. And
Yeah.
so my goal right now is really to scale and to build as much as possible within Maverick. And so I think that we can go 10 to 100 times bigger than we're currently going. And so that's going to require really overloading until the point where we find, okay, this is too much and now we need to scale back down and slow down. So with that in mind, I'm okay being really busy, right? Because I think it's worth the angle, and I see myself improving at a much faster rate than I ever have before.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely you know, an opportunity when you're young to go at it as hard as you possibly can, because you have the energy and ability and all of that. And I congratulate you on that. There's a book you may want to check out called Who Not How. If you haven't read it, it's really interesting. It kind of helps you think about not overworking yourselves, but bringing in other people or systems or tools to offset some of your um, time gaps where, so that you have the ability to, as the leader, because you have to be the one that leads the team and sets the strategy. And so the book, it kind of just helps you think about, okay, instead of me working 100 hours a week, who can I leverage, or how can I leverage other people's time or other pieces of technology to do the same amount of work, but without burning out anybody on the team. So
That's a
just
good idea.
yeah, check that out.
I'll keep that.
And I guess thinking about it from an entrepreneurial perspective, I mean, UT's got a great entrepreneurial program. They've got a lot of like incubators and things within the organization. And like, how are you seeing your generation when it comes to being an entrepreneur? Are you seeing a lot more interest in that space? Like, maybe just tell me a little about what you're seeing on campus and what you're seeing in kind of your circles when it comes to thinking about, instead of going the traditional 9 to 5 job route, trying to at least give it a shot as an entrepreneur during or post college.
Yeah, I think that it's super trendy. It's super in. A lot of people are trying to be entrepreneurs, and I think that's great. There's definitely, as you mentioned, with the danger of working, there's definitely a hustle culture which is alive and well in America. No surprise there. I definitely see that. People are up all night working every night in college. So there's a lot of people that are serious about working hard. So it's great to see. And yeah, there's a lot of people that are impressive and growing things.
Have you been able to leverage any of the support at UT? Being an entrepreneur and being a student, to either find clients, find employees or talent, or just get advice on as you're building a business, because you know it's not a small feat to start and grow and maintain a business.
I have not actually. I've mainly focused on getting on working with people or hiring from outside of college and just trying to focus on who's just best qualified. But there's definitely a lot of talent there that I can tap into in the future.
Yeah. And I guess as you think about like people that, maybe are listening to this and, maybe they're not 19, but they've got an idea, and, they may have been a little bit nervous to either quit their job or just go in kind of full bore into their idea. Like what kind of advice would you give somebody that's thinking about starting a business that, maybe hasn't done it yet?
I think the biggest advice that I can give is if this is the route you actually want to go down, you just need to understand that those get rich quick overnight kind of stories are few and far between. And the reality is, as Malcolm Gladwell talks about in Outliers, this is the kind of thing where it's going to require 10,000 hours of work. And the further along you get, the more you're going to realize you need to know. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's in full of force. And so however difficult you think your goal is, it's probably 10 times more difficult. And so if you're able to withstand that slog, and you're able to wake up every day and embrace that and not only do it but enjoy it, then this is great for you. But otherwise, this is not an easy path. There are definitely great benefits to doing it and to succeeding with it, but success is not guaranteed. And so just have that in mind, I'd say.
Yeah, no, it definitely is one of the things where you have to enjoy the process, because yeah, everybody loves the overnight success, right? That you see online of like, hey, I built this online shop, or I built this $1 billion company. We just got funding, but you didn't actually see the 10 years prior of, grinding and staying up all hours of the night, and, not going on vacations and stuff just to, fuel the business growth.
Yes,
So
most of
yeah,
it is not glamorous at all, and
that's
that part needs to
exactly right. That's
that
exactly
part
right.
needs to be discussed too. And that's the part that's not on camera. That's the part that's not going to be featured on social media. But in many ways, that is the most valuable part. And so, I would just recommend everybody keep that in mind.
Yeah, you got to be able to put up with a lot of nonsense to get that overnight success, quote unquote. I'm kind of curious before we end this real quick. I've been on Instagram and all those other things, and you see all of these you know uh, how to build a business in 2 easy steps and drop shipping, and I've looked into them. I've not paid any money, but I've watched the videos, and it's intriguing. I guess it sounds like you put in a lot of the legwork to test some of these ideas. Which ones that maybe share which ones you've tested, and then any that are interesting but maybe not as easy as people think.
Mhm. So I would say most of these growth vehicles have some truth to them, whether it's drop shipping, whether it's crypto, whether it's social media, of course, investing, day trading, all of these different schemes have some truth to them, at least the ones that I just mentioned. Other things I can't necessarily vouch for. However, with that in mind, that doesn't mean that it doesn't require a massive amount of effort to be successful, and even then it's not guaranteed. So I worked in dropshipping, testing different products for about a year and a half, and this was to the extent where I was borrowing my family's driver's licenses because I was too young to have my own store, and I was really earning and saving every single dollar I could get my hands on in order to invest it into testing products, and it never was successful. Really, it was never really that profitable, and so that was it. It never worked out for me. However, I'm not going to say it's a scam. I know people that it's done great for, and that's great. So I'm happy for them. I may have just not been smart enough to figure it out myself, which is okay. Everything worked out for the best, and so that's what I'll say there. It really is just a massive amount of effort required to be successful, and at the end of the day, it's not guaranteed either.
Yeah, if it seems too easy, it probably requires a lot more work than anybody realizes.
Yes.
So awesome. Noah, man, this has been great. Congrats on the success that you've had with your business to date, and I'm sure you're going to go on to do a ton of even better things. I want to wrap this up here with a 3-pack of questions that I ask every guest. And so let's jump in here. What's an influential business book or just book in general, or a podcast that you've found kind of inspirational?
One of my favorite books in the topic of business is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
That's an old book, but yeah, definitely the concepts are kind of ageless, I would say. That's for sure.
Yes, it's an oldie but a goodie. I think that this idea of just focusing on your success, having that sense of obsession, I think that's very necessary, and that kind of belief and thought is a great place to really start from.
Makes sense. Awesome. What is your favorite thing to do outside of work when you're not in school or running your business and all that stuff when you have a minute of free time?
Yeah, my favorite things outside of business is to exercise. I love running. I love lifting. I've just recently started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I'm not very good at. But I love anything physical, fitness related. So running the river in Austin is the best.
Awesome. Yeah. Very cool. Last question. And I guess, I don't know if you have a ton of time for vacations, but what's your favorite vacation spot?
Favorite vacation spot currently is Israel, specifically Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. I've been going there at least once a year for the past couple of years. So I've really enjoyed there. Maybe I may make it back this summer if I can spare the time. We shall see.
Very cool. That's awesome. Very cool. Noah, this has been awesome. If people want to reach out to you to learn more about what you're doing with your business, and maybe they are listening to this and they have a product that they need your help kind of creating some viral videos, what's the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, follow me on social media at Noah Frydberg on all platforms: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, etc. Follow me there and click the link in my bio, maverickcreative.net, in order to book a time to talk to me or my team.
Awesome. Noah, thank you very much. It was great to meet you. And thanks for being on the pod.
Yep. Thanks for having me, Justin.
I hope you found at least one actionable insight from this episode of the Growth Capital Podcast, your one-stop shop for insights from private equity leaders, CEOs, and startup entrepreneurs on starting, investing in, and scaling successful businesses, as well as the role having the right talent plays in growing a successful business. It would be greatly appreciated if you would rate and review this podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe and drop us a comment so we can expand the audience of this podcast. Thank you for all your support, and don't forget about upcoming episodes dropping every Tuesday.